You know, we've spent money already. We've made a commitment. So we just need them to tie down one of these 3 hotels. We need to sign the contract within. I want to sign this contract within a couple of months because these places, you already cannot get the best hotel is already booked for the summit. It's gone. So, but we're going
That's
before.
in Tunis.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
The Palace.
The Palace. Oh yeah.
But the 3 days before the summit, they may be okay. So I think we really need to go ahead and get it tied down.
Well, you know, we could always help the WFEO people get a grant from somewhere. Or, I mean, just, you know, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't get money from somewhere. I mean, I agree that NSF is not the right source, but that doesn't mean they can't get some funding from some foundation or some other source, UN, maybe UNESCO or something. So, I mean, I think you know, you shouldn't be too negative about them getting some money. I mean, all the organizations affiliated with this are going to need some money to bring in speakers and.
Well, they were able to run a major conference in October, so I think they have money. Yeah. And I don't think this is.
I know, but I'm just saying, you know, yeah, NSF money maybe not, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't expect to get some money from somewhere.
Now my question is, what kinds of local arrangements do we want? Because if we do this at a hotel, that gives us certain advantages that were not available in WSSD because they had to have their own venue.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the sort of support that we normally get when we organize meetings in developing countries. The secretariat support is important. Normally we get 2 or 3 from the staff of the organization working with us continuously and doing all the logistics and all the arrangements, and if there's any problem they tackle that. And they do have the infrastructure of doing that. And sometimes they even offer you know, lunches, coffee breaks, things like that. But that is, I think that we can manage that. But I think the most important thing is that we are not charged any money. And normally it's the opposite. In our experience, it's the opposite. They pay money. No, we don't give them money to organize, but they pay actually money from their own budget to facilitate all that. And I am sure that the ministry will help as much as we can.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it will be very good if we can go together somehow.
Do you know
at a certain time,
and
then go and explore all that. And we see the Ministry of Science and Technology, see Kamal, and try to finalize it as quickly as we can. Because the ministry, as I mentioned earlier, really they have to be brought in somehow as a partner. And if they come in, I'm sure that they will also provide some support.
Okay, then maybe that's how Kamel gets the money to hire 1 or 2 staff.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Is there? They could actually. I mean, if they agree that he should take care of it, they can make an arrangement, an internal arrangement.
Now this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Because the thing that we have to learn from their WFEO meeting in October is their style of doing meetings. It's not at all a good model for our meeting, and so we have to be very careful about having them organize the program. And this is what our planning committee is doing. You know, it doesn't mean that the president can't come and give an opening welcome. It doesn't mean that Kamel can't give a speech, but the style of the WFEO meeting is not a scientific meeting. It is a meeting for entertainment and touristic visits and you know, bringing your wife so that you can have a few days at the beach. This is the style of meeting, and this is it's not at all what we want. And what they will do if they get in charge of local arrangements, there's a danger that they'll start bringing in these private tour operators. And there was a lot of criticism in Tunis about this because, for example, normally when you go to a meeting, you come in and there's a registration. There's some desks like they had at CERN. At the Tunis meeting, there was no registration. What there was tour operators signing people up for tours. And the registration itself was hidden in the basement in a room without even a note that people could see. The registration is on room 110, and it was major chaos. So they really don't emphasize the right thing.
Well, I think, quite frankly, I think maybe we should just go ahead and contact the ministry. Why don't we just contact them right away, you know, by sending a letter first, informing them about the event and requesting their participation, or at least leadership as far as the local organization is concerned. And just like what we did with the Ministry of Science and Technology in South Africa.
Okay.
And then see what they will come up with. But we will ask them for lots of things. We'll ask them to make all the local arrangements for us, essentially. And I'm sure that they will find a budget of meeting all that.
Okay.
And then that will be followed up. We'll try the minister. I will write to him immediately after we go back. And then I will follow that up by phone call. And of course we have a number of fellows of TWAS also who are there, eminent scientists who will also help in that. And let us see what comes out of it. Yeah. But as I said earlier, I think it is important for us to go together to set up certain time and finalize these things.
I think even with the involvement of the ministry, it's very important for us to clarify from the very, very, very beginning, I mean maybe not the very first contact letter, but certainly shortly after that, exactly the kinds of issues that you just mentioned. Because it's not just part of the meeting organization, I think it's a very different culture. And people just perceive things differently. So I think that only being on site ahead of time by 1 or 2 visits, and then maintaining a constant kind of contact, and then mostly by, at the moment of the meeting, arriving several days earlier to make sure that everything is planned, laid out just the way we want, I think it can actually be perfectly managed. In Beijing, for instance, though the Chinese Academy of Sciences did not boost this, didn't put the registration in the basement, as you said, nonetheless, right next to the registration, they had a couple of booths of tour operators signing up people.
Well, that's fine. Yeah.
And that was absolutely fine. Just it was well organized, well laid out, well set up, and that's up, I think, to us, the real organizers. Yeah, well.
So you see, and for the ministry, this is also a unique event because we got a lot of publicity out of it.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's try to find ways of doing it that won't alienate WFEO.
Yes, I think what we will do, I mean, this is a science event. In order to have it properly done, we really have to involve the ministry about the science. And that's our entry.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
we're contacting the ministry to be a partner, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, at the extreme, I know that it's possible to just exclude WFEO and not have them involved. But if we can do it with them,
Yes, yeah.
I'm saying it's okay with me either way. But
We'll start at the general level, we'll contact the ministry, we'll inform them that we're taking part in leading this event with you, also that you have your contacts with WFEO, and then take it one step at a time from there. I think that's, you know, if we send a letter next week from Trieste, and in January we take back another contact and see, so, have you read our stuff? What do you think? What's your input? And the same with you from your end of WFEO, informing them perhaps as well that TWAS is...
Well, I think the ministry will be a party, will be one of the partners. That is what is important.
I agree. I mean, if it would be very ideal, it would be like South Africa.
Yes, exactly. Yes, sir. And WFO, of course, will understand that this is a science event,
Sure.
so the ministry must be there as a partner.
Yeah, and I think if you write the letter, it'll be good. And I don't think it's necessary to wait to sign the contract with the hotel for us to get everybody on the same page. Because we've seen the hotels, I think we know the best ones. And only if Kamel's group does not do the groundwork quickly, if they don't do that groundwork quickly, and we have to get the ministry involved in just getting the contract with the hotel, this is really a pretty simple matter, then that's when
I would work through them, because they have typically, I think, they would have a good, the possibility of getting good rates and good deals.
This is very true.
Yeah.
This is very true, because they are a government
Yeah.
department, so they
Well,
might have a special
but
discounts.
the WFEO is also in that same, I mean, it's that network of friends with the president that they're a part of. It's just a question of whether they will do it. I want to see them sending emails and making the contacts with the hotels. We have seen them all, we've had prices, we've had 2 or 3 people do a site visit. It's just not necessary to redo that.
Right, yeah.
And actually, all the ones that we saw are fine. There's no, we didn't see any bad
And
hotels.
the
These
prices
are all-
are reasonable, or did you negotiate this one?
The prices that they quoted us originally from, it's a guy named Rahid Bukala, who is Kamel's deputy, and he went and got us prices for the about 4 of the, I don't know if they're 4-star or 5-star, they're really nice. And they were in the area of 80 to 100 Tunisian dinar. But that's a very good price.
Which is about how
That's only, well, 100 is less than
Less than
$80. Yeah, I mean, it was like $75 or $80
This is
for.
very good.
Yeah.
This is very good.
But the prices that I got when I sent the RFP were more like, do you remember? Was it 100? It was like 120 euros.
Yeah.
Now that's a lot
Double the
more.
price, yes.
Yeah.
That's double.
Now, I can imagine that prices will have gone up in 2005, so I could allow for inflation, but still,
But
they're
I
not
think one
looking
can
at
go
that.
ahead and do the contract. I think that's an excellent idea. If the prices are like this still, yeah.
we've got to get them to go to the hotels. We've got to get Rakid or Kamel, whoever, to go to the hotel and say, this is what we need. And if they can't do that within 1 or 2 months, then we have to take another route, because time will be
Right, yeah.
slipping away.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But the Minister of Science and Technology, let's go ahead and just do that immediately
Yeah.
and do it.
Okay.
Alright.
So let us plan it this way then. We do the letter immediately. That can be done on Friday or next week. When are you coming back?
I'm coming back Sunday night.
Yeah, so Monday it can be done. Yeah.
Or I can work on it this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, and we write it in French and in English.
Yeah, it always helps.
We don't have an Arabic typewriter, so that we do it in Arabic as well.
No, Eric?
How, or has UNESCO at all been brought into this? Because they're carrying a large number of Mediterranean Basin initiatives, many, with a lot of funding, all sorts of, several departments of the UNESCO. And I know that there's a very strong desire, I think it's driven in large part by the immigration process across the Mediterranean and the Middle Eastern instability, but there's a very strong desire also of the European community to support Mediterranean initiatives. Has anybody?
Well, we
Well,
met a
the
couple
next thing
people
we
there.
have to discuss are the partners.
Yeah.
This is the most important. So,
I mean, maybe that UNESCO will want to do its own thing like they did their own thing here.
well, UNESCO of course has got 2 roles. I mean, here in this meeting, and I'm sure that they will do the same. One role is with us, with the non-governmental organizations, which is a minor one. But the more substantial one is the one with the process itself, because they are intergovernmental organizations.
Right,
That's
right.
why they have what, 15 or 20 side events
Parallel session.
within the WSIS.
Right.
So, but with us, I think we have to bring them as a partner.
Mm.
I think it's important. And I'm sure they will be happy.
Uh,
Like what
I-
CERN did. Like what CERN did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
El-
Yeah. You know, they are a partner also with CERN.
Yes.
Yeah.
I assume it's El Taib and.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's easy for us to do that,
Yeah.
yes, because we are actually in a way part of UNESCO.
Yeah.
We are under the umbrella of UNESCO. I mean, the management of TWAS is undertaken by UNESCO.
Now, what did they do how did UNESCO work with CERN on this one?
I think CERN just invited UNESCO to be.
Did they give
one of the
money or
collab-
they just put their name on
I'm
it?
not quite sure. I don't think so. I'm not quite sure whether they actually provided some funding or not. But that is something we can explore with UNESCO. I mean, we have very good contacts. So UNESCO is a party. Yesterday, I also learned that CERN would be very interested.
Yes?
Yes. And of course, one thing we discussed is we have to at least show that we have done something between now and Tunis, as far as this meeting is concerned. So it's not just going to be a repetition of what happened here, but we somehow have to show some 1 or 2 results that we're really moving forward. So that requires some careful thinking and planning somehow. But they are interested. We can reconfirm that with
and
them.
I think that we'll wind up inviting Doran and
Mention.
sorry.
I'm the one who forgets,
I-
and he always remembers. But
I always tell
the organizer, Manji,
Manji.
who
Manji
organized.
Hamza.
Yeah,
Dosan.
who helped organize.
Manji Dosan.
But I'm the one who forgets the name, and he reminds me
I
today. I had to
reminded him, now I
remind
just
him.
forgot it, so. No, I think that they can be invited to our dinner on Friday, but I was a little hesitant because I felt that we should be able to speak freely about our assessment of the CERN meeting, and I would have some criticism of that, so I didn't really want to do that, because I think they did a great event, and I wouldn't want them to take that personally. It's just not the same idea.
But that's to improve things. I mean, that's important. It's important to have good criticism.
Yeah, do you think I should invite them then to come
The
on
same people,
Friday?
I think they would be very interested.
Okay.
Yes, I think we should contact them.
And the two that I mentioned, the Mike and Manji?
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and then ICSO, of course. ICSO has to be brought in.
And Codata as a separate entity in ICSO.
Yes,
'Cause they're
but the
kind of-
Codata will be within ICSO essentially.
Well, but I think they're interested in organizing and paying for certain sessions, so I think they'd like to get a separate kind of recognition. on it.
Well, I
That's a
think,
Codata.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
well, I
Because
think,
I've talked to the international Codata people about it.
but there may be other groups like that, so I think we should distinguish between the main partners and the groups that are organizing within our event, because otherwise then all the other groups that have mentioned, like OECD, that they might want to do something, they, you have to put so many names
I
on
know,
them.
I know. Well, all I can say is that they're gonna be, they're interested in getting, some specific recognition and partnering.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't really care that much, but I think they don't want to be subsumed under ICSU so much because they're really, they're an independent kind of
Yeah, that's
organization.
true, that's true.
And if they bring in money and activity as a major partner, they may be more active than ICSU in actually organizing
Well,
things.
We already have an offer from OECD to be involved.
Yeah.
We have an offer from Internet2, and they've already offered to contribute money.
Mhm.
So,
Well then, I mean, I don't see the problem with just having a whole bunch of partners then listed.
well,
If they're providing money, they have to be recognized specifically as a organizing partner.
Mhm.
I don't think you just automatically subsume them under something just because they're affiliated with another organization.
okay, well, LSU, my university,
Well-
has already contributed $10,000.
Well, that's right, well then, LSU should be listed. I mean, if it's a dozen organizations or if it's 6, I don't know.
Okay, well then,
I
I
don't know that it
think
makes
what
a difference.
you have to distinguish between organizations that are the key organizations.
That's right.
And whose umbrella this event is taking place.
Mhm.
And then that can be done in collaboration with, and you can list as many as possible.
Mhm.
is that okay?
Probably, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what the level of
Of
involvement is.
contribution is.
Yeah, that's usually what it comes down to. I mean, in any private event anyway, the ones that I've run, what's your level of commitment? How much
That's
in
right.
manpower,
That's right.
time, resources are you going to put in, and financial? And then there is a whole negotiating process between, hey, I want to be listed number 1, but I want to be listed number 1,
right.
and then you have to manage everybody to be satisfied one way or another.
Well, I'm proposing, as you know from the beginning, that TWAS be listed number
Yeah, I
1.
think that makes a lot of sense.
And so if I haven't really heard a lot of disagreement on that. So as long as we agree and go forward on that basis, we decide on the other order. And I know that WFEO thinks that they will have a very strong role because they're located in Tunis. And it would probably be a big mistake, to not recognize that.
Yeah, but then they should also get some resources to,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
you might make that point to them.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
How about the EC, the European Commission or European Union? They've got a pile of money that, I think they mentioned that less than 20% of the grants that they had last year or in 2001 available for African countries were even solicited and ended up being given out to other things. I was told by Thomas in particular that the application process to get a grant from them is so insane that it discourages
Well, that's why they have so much money.
many.
Right.
It's a good way of.
But,
It's a treasure over there, but nobody
No.
can reach it.
right, but as organizers of this thing, do we not have a certain amount of leverage we could try
We've done
to use?
everything
Yeah, B-roll.
Yeah, no, it's just,
Yeah,
We'll make it
I got a
a
lot.
B-roll.
I got a lot of B-rolls.
Okay.
So we're good.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you
This is the problem we
Yeah.
had in Nairobi,
You know-
Nairobi too, with our Spanish friend.
Chris Petterman is one of the people that we've been in constant contact with. Chris Petterman was really a key person in the EC.
Okay.
But he's always giving us promises and promises, but nothing has happened.
Well, the person that we contacted was I think she's the chief science advisor to the EU, Helga Nowotny. And she's, the 4S, which is the Society for Social Studies of Science, we gave her our prize last year. She's the one who has written stuff on, Mode 2 science, and she's kind of known as a policy advisor. But, so we said, as long as you're getting our prize, let's talk about this, and she also promised things, but nothing yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know what our main point of contact with the EU would be. Also, the Dutch have expressed some interest, but if we got EU money, then we just don't need all that much money. I think we'll have plenty of money.
Okay, okay.
And by the way, one of the things I learned about this event that was a big mistake. They think that one of the big differences between the event that they tried at CERN and the event that we've talked about is that they made this very strong distinction between the audience and the speakers. And to me, the audience is the speakers. It's a group of people who are there to meet for 2 or 3 days, and they're kind of committed to staying there and listening to presentations and then giving presentations. I'm not really keen on inviting people from India because they've made a contribution to the website and then their way is paid to be in the audience. I mean, that's what CERN did, but I think speakers and audience are the same.
Well, if there's money, extra money or whatever, to bring in people, that's not a problem, is it?
Well,
But
see,
what
to
he's
me,
saying
it's
is
a
he
scientific-
doesn't want to bring people just to come and listen.
They should give a
He wants it to be
presentation.
a presentation and also more participation and discussion and things like that, which is, I think, is a good idea.
Well, some kind of role, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it could be a moderator or something, but they're on the program, and, yeah.
well, then that kind of makes it invitation only rather than a open meeting.
right.
And I don't know.
Well, they can come as an audience member, we wouldn't turn anyone away.
Oh, but you wouldn't want to pay for them to do that.
Right, so we wouldn't close our doors, I think, as long as there's seating available and they can, fit in the room and so forth. But,
Well, that makes a difference in terms of the kind of venue you want to organize, in your expectation of the size of the meeting and that kind of thing.
well, the CERN event was actually a lot bigger than the WSSD events. It's not that they had more space, it's that they paid for their audience. And what they wound up doing was, and Mike Doran said this was a mistake, was that they didn't charge for the event. That he feels like if they charged, it would have been better because people would have been more committed when they said they were coming. So they had a lot of people kind of registering through the website and they didn't show up. The reason that was a problem is because they spent a huge amount of money for a big banquet, and as you,
A lot of people didn't show up.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
half.
that was a shame.
Yeah, and they paid for those dinners. So that's just a huge waste of money, and that's that, you're part of the audience, you register, you don't come, you're not really that committed to it. That's why we should have a meeting where people are participating.
Yeah, on the other hand, you have a trade-off because the local government or organizers want to be able to show photos with as many people as possible, obviously. It's, and even if somebody comes from some distant nation, they're happier if they can come back saying, well, this is the event that our...
That's true, but I just don't buy that because this is when it becomes like the WFEO event. They had 100, or was it 200 Libyans register on, they brought them from Libya, they just a whole 200 people the day before it started so they could fill up, and this is just a political thing then, and I don't think this is our meeting.
No, it may not be ours,
Yeah.
but we have to be I think we have to have some sensitivity to what these people's participants' objective is,
Well,
which
it
is,
certainly shouldn't be a closed meeting, I mean, not just restricted to those we invite. I think it should be open, as you
Well,
said.
you can have a registration fee that helps filter some things, and you can always waive the fee if the person has a legitimate reason can't pay it and you want them there, right? I mean, but I don't know, I mean, that's certainly one possibility. I don't know how you feel about having a registration fee or not.
Well, it didn't happen in the WSSD, we didn't do that.
There wasn't.
In fact, there we were really,
It really
we were
was,
really short of people, because not many people turned up.
but it was high quality though. The people that were there were.
Yeah, but there were not that many,
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we're a bit disappointed. I think the mistake there, of course, was that the event itself was organized during
Mhm.
the WSSD itself. So most of the people were really attending other things,
Right.
Going to the main
Right.
event and so on. But this one in CERN was different because it was done before. And I think we should do ours just before the
Mhm.
major event takes place. That is very important.
Mhm.
Then you will have some participation. Yeah, because once the major event starts, then everybody just moves over there,
Mhm.
wanting to listen to presidents. And
So we'll sort of leave that as an open
We
question
leave it as an
about
open question,
registration.
yes, yeah.
speaking of dates, we were sensitized to the fact yesterday that there is a major physics event that same month in,
The month before, in October.
oh, it's
It's
October in the
October
end?
and November.
Okay.
But they haven't given the firm, I don't know if they've given the firm dates for the summit anyway. I mean, they say November, I don't know if there's like
They say
November
November
19th.
2005, but they don't know when.
They don't know the, I haven't heard like a specific date in November, I've not heard November.
I'd heard
The 5th?
something around the 17th.
The 17th, okay.
Somewhere I saw
Yeah.
17th.
And the.
Because we need to schedule it not just with respect to that physics event, if at all possible, but also because we have the TWAS General Conference.
We have a big meeting in Alexandria.
In November?
Yeah, no, we have not fixed it yet.
Of 2005.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
also, isn't there another thing at the,
Well, if anybody's
In Rome?
changing the dates, we've already sent out the request for proposals, so the dates are the 13th to the 15th of November.
Oh, 13, 15 of November.
Yeah, and the main summit is the 16th to the 18th.
Uh-huh.
right, okay, so that,
And then the other
you know that
event
the
is-
main summit is 16 to 18?
Yeah,
Okay, so that matches with the
And
17th
the,
that I heard.
the WSIS is when? 16?
16th to 18th.
Yeah, that
November.
seems to make sense.
Okay. So we should then try to have ours.
Do we want to call this RSIS, or do you want to?
Yeah, the name of it is Past, Present, and Future of Science
PPF.
yeah,
Yeah, that's,
in the Information Society.
Mhm.
And we probably are going to have to go with Science and Engineering if WFEO is, otherwise
Mhm.
they'll say no.
Mhm.
But I don't mind Science and Engineering. I think it's just a big, long name, and it's, you know, it'd be good to have a shorter name, but this is the idea that I've sold at the NSF, that they have said, yeah, this is a good idea.
Mhm. Mhm.
I guess the name could be changed. It is rather long.
Well, I don't know. The engineers always want to distinct themselves from. But that's science. Science is inclusive.
What about the focus on developing countries?
Well, this is the two diagrams that I keep drawing are basically, one is like the Venn diagram
Mhm.
of science, ICT, and development.
Mhm.
You know, and we're trying to kind of hit the intersection of it.
Mhm.
And the other is well, I've been calling it the theme matrix, but it's probably not the right term either. If you have past, present, and future, and then, this is not gonna work. It's really themes by participants.
Mhm.
And past, present, and future are, you know, how we got here, which includes, it includes, you know, people talking about what is the history of the Information Society, what's the role of science in that, you know, it doesn't just start with the internet, it goes back earlier, and some panels that discuss that issue. The present are the ICTs for collaboration, the uses of ICTs that have made a difference for the production of knowledge, and some discussion, I won't say demonstration because we don't know the facilities there, of the high-end supercomputing applications, virtual collaborations, what they call collaboratories, and the future is the developing world. You know, that's our gimmick for focusing on the
digital divide.
of the digital divide. And then the other side of the matrix was basically innovators, scholars, and what I'm calling 2PM, but it's basically policymakers and program managers. And these are all kind of loose categories because a lot of people would fall in several of them, but this would allow us to make sure that the event doesn't get too heavily weighted towards, you know, some people want to bring in all of, you know, all of one kind of people, just to make sure that we're kind of filling that up and saying, you're planning sessions that don't have a distribution of people here. You need people from, we want to make sure that people really pay attention to the developing countries and invite people. And if they don't plan for that in their sessions, I don't think we can
Well, the
live.
policy community is important because, and funding sources. I mean, you want to bring in people from foundations and from donor organizations, right?
And where's the private sector?
Well, innovators,
Innovators.
they're the innovators, and that would be past, present, and future. So the future innovators are, you know, African, maybe African
Entrepreneurs.
entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. Well, this actually sounds like a very large, possibly very large event, with, especially with all the partners that we've already mentioned. And if they all bring some money to it, in addition to all the money that you're planning to get, I mean, we're talking about probably something bigger than the CERN event.
Oh, yeah.
It's starting to sound that way for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
well,
it has to be limited by what we decide here. These hotels are not the biggest thing.
well, that's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the hotel needs to be big enough to accommodate, well, obviously people can stay in other places too that are local.
We're talking about the room itself.
But the rooms,
The room itself, we're not going to get more than 200 rooms.
200 people?
persons.
No, I'm talking about, no,
Conference room,
conference
meeting
size.
auditorium.
Meeting room.
Like
Meeting
auditorium.
rooms. Yeah, they actually, all of them have larger style auditoriums. And I mean, I sort of made sure that they did. But the larger style auditoriums, you don't want to have a lot of meetings there because then they will facilitate that ceremonial, you know, atmosphere.
Sure.
They do have them. So each of them has one of those big rooms
Yeah.
where you have it's sort of a banquet hall.
The banquet hall, yes.
And then they have smaller breakout rooms.
And
And
they can take a large number of people, these banquet halls.
yeah,
Right.
several hundred.
Well, of course, if in fact it gets bigger than what we may be thinking, then one could always have two venues parallel.
Yeah, and this is a nice thing if you did that.
Possibly.
About the Carthage Palace and Corinthia Comsa is they're right next to each other. It's just you walk back and forth. The bad thing is that by the time we would know how big it was, that would probably be taken. Because people will snap these good venues up. There are not so many good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
How about back to the locality, what is it called? Hamadan?
Hammamet.
Hamamat. Is that, I thought I was understanding from Mujid yesterday that they've built it up into a whole quite complex place with pretty heavy infrastructure for all sorts of things just like this. Is
They've
that-
got like 60 hotels there.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
that not be a suitable venue? I mean, what's the purpose for, I just heard him emphasize it so much yesterday that I'm wondering why necessarily.
Well, because I don't think that, see, I mean, we want a good venue, and the beach resort now these are not exactly like Mediterranean beaches. They have not a lot of sand and stuff, but it is a beach resort. So it has a nice atmosphere. There's a lot of good walking around space. It also feels safe. You know, it's a very, it kind of have, whether it is or not, I think it is, but it feels safe. You know, if you've got nervous Americans, you know, about Muslim. No, I mean, it's a concern, you know. And Hammamet is fine, but we're having the thing 3 days before the event. So there's really not a problem if people want to go to Hammamet or even stay there and go back and forth. But I don't.
I'm just asking in terms of the, since we're not sure at all at this point what the size of the thing's going to be. As Paul mentioned, it could be 500 people, or it could easily, if you do get all these organizations involved, it could very easily snowball into something much, much, much larger. You mentioned that in these two hotels there's one next door. I'm just asking the question whether Hammamet, in that sense, may offer more flexibility, in part because it will already be reserved for the summit itself for the following 3 days. Therefore, maybe it has something that's
Did
more...
Manji mention that he thought that city was on the coast? He was saying
Oh,
that
Hammamet,
city
yes, yeah.
is on the coast also.
Oh yeah, it's a resort.
But because we had looked at the
It's
map
very
and we
famous.
thought it was like 70 kilometers inland and not on the coast. But he,
Part of it in inland, but
Oh, is it?
most of it.
okay, but where the conference is going to be on the coast, so
Oh.
that's also coast. Coast,
Yeah,
and it's
from
away from
what
the
I
city.
understood,
Right.
and it's much
Yeah.
more...
It's the most famous holiday place in Tunisia.
Yeah.
And it's full of
Yeah.
sand, by the way. So, but it is, but we have to make sure that the decision for the WSIS is to have the meeting there. This is what I heard yesterday. By the way, his surname is Hamdi.
Hamdi, I'm sorry, yeah, Mandi. But also you,
It's Hamdi.
Hamdi, huh? Oh, the last name. But your concern was security. He's mentioning they're bringing this amazing infrastructure in this location. You know, I mean, it's probably going to be one of the most secure places in Tunisia at this place, and maybe not at our place, in the sense that they'll already have infrastructure in terms of security, logistics.
Yeah, I mean, the basic reason for the decision is that we have done the site visits, you know,
Yes.
and we've done the site visits at 5 hotels in that area, and I don't think that the hotels are so distant, and you know, these are 5-star hotels, so you could get, you know, maybe you'll get an equivalent in Hammamet, but I don't think you'll get better.
Well, with those prices that you quoted, I think that's an
If we have this, because those are the first quoted prices, they're not the prices we're getting now, though.
Yeah.
'Cause we
But
just had
even the
quotes.
ones that we're getting now are not unreasonable for our budget.
Well,
You know,
100. You
so-
just said 120 euros. I mean, 20.
Yeah.
Well, I would think anyway that the ministry and the government people with WFEO, whoever, will give us significant input as to where they would think that we should, I think, and you did an on-site visit, and absolutely no, I'm not discounting that in any way, but people who are from there may have their specific reasons for swaying us to one place or the other.
Well,
So
these are the ones that they gave us,
WFEO.
WFEO.
Ministry may be working completely differently, I don't know. For instance,
Okay, I'm not willing to continue to delay this decision, because we already lost one hotel, which was said to us to be the best hotel in Tunis. I don't know if that's true.
The
That's
Palace is the Palace.
Le Palace,
The
yeah.
Palace.
And when I went there to talk to the guy,
It's already gone.
the sales manager, I'd been on email with him over the summer, and when I arrived there, he said, "I'm really sorry, the government has told us not to reserve this hotel during the summit." And when the government says that, that's it, you know. So I said, "Okay, well, thanks a lot." And he said, "If you want to have the meeting beforehand, please come back to me. That would be great, but I'm sorry I can't help you on."
Beforehand means 13, 15 is okay, you think?
Well, yeah, that's what he told me at the time. And I just sent him the RFP just a few days ago.
but you see, he told you, the government asked me. And
Right.
so through our channels, through the ministry, it may very well be that we end up having an equal kind of priority somewhere. So I think maybe the right thing to do is right now to set a date saying by this date, we want to secure the hotel, whatever your date is, since you've done all the footwork, and between now and that date, we can all together push as much as we can the contacts we have over there to
Well,
see if they...
We're gonna
Yeah,
first
but,
try these hotels that we've,
That's right. I think since the process has already started,
Okay.
because
And-
I mean, even going through the ministry is not so trivial.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to be so quick.
Uh,
But we may lose time, we may lose the contacts. I think with the arrangement of the hotel, I think you should go ahead, quite frankly.
Yeah, if we can get the rates secured
Yeah.
and not have these exorbitant
Yeah.
increases.
Yeah.
Because all the groups that are here are probably gonna start looking for a place
Exactly, doing the same
immediately
thing.
after this is over.
And
That's-
you've already done the survey anyway.
Yeah, that's why I did the survey in October, and
Right.
I thought it would really be done by now, but it's
Yeah.
not, because they haven't helped us as much as I thought.
Right, well, I think we definitely need someone local to make the reservation, because they're going to try and gouge you if you try and do it.
Yeah.
Which has already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to have someone on the ground there to
And
do
what-
the
So
arrangement.
this is why I want to have the private conversation with Kamel on Friday and say, look, can your men go and do this? Because if they can't, then we've got to go with the ministry, or we've got to have other assistance.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Okay, all right.
right.
So the ministry will be the second option, just in case
Mhm.
your
They have-
arrangement with
yeah.
Kamal doesn't work.
Yes.
But
That's
you
what we
still
have-
need to contact them right away to get them involved, right?
Oh,
Because you want them involved anyway.
Just to
To write the
write the
letter.
letter.
Yes.
ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ministry as a partner.
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah,
yes.
as a
Yeah.
partner, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
So Kamal is coming to the dinner?
To the dinner on Friday. And
Oh, he's
also-
here, he's here.
He's here, I saw him last night,
Oh, I see.
and the other thing you mentioned was going early and setting it up, you know, maybe in October in 2005. This guy Lazak, do you know him, Lazak
Yes,
Bialy?
yes, yeah.
You know, he's really pretty good in
Uh-huh.
terms of doing groundwork, and he went 1 month early for the WFEO. And if it wasn't for him, that conference would have been significantly worse off. Because he could see the problems, and he was going, look, where's your registration? You have no registration. And sort of troubleshooting from the perspective.
Yeah, well, all that helps, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to do that, definitely. And I think Lazak is gonna be at this meeting on Friday, and has these, he makes back and forth trips from Paris to
Okay.
Tunis.
Okay, who are the participants?
Yeah. So if we, but we do
So
have
we
to-
agreed on that now.
We do have to agree on
On
it.
Friday, we're going to finalize this business of the hotel, isn't it?
Yeah,
On Friday.
no, not the specific hotel, but how we will get it quickly. Yeah.
Whether WFEO
Whether they
or
can get it
some
for
other-
us.
Or we have to contact the ministry directly and ask
Right.
if it could be.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Now, the participants, this is why when I said 200 rooms on the hotels, we might be able to do a little bit above that. But actually, the best hotel didn't have the most rooms, but they're all in that range, possibly 250. And
The main thing is that there's some close by, walking distance, where we could have overflows, right?
mhm.
In case we have a lot more people than we
Yeah.
think.
And as I said before, we've done these kind of meetings at 4S for about 15 years, and the overflow hotel is always a good idea, but it doesn't work if you're in a city with a major holiday or some other big
Like,
hotel
yeah.
pressure, like a Summit.
Yeah.
And so our problem here is we need to have a commitment up front of what we're expecting, because when we decide later, we need double the space, we probably can't get it. We have to say, this is 200 people. If other people want to come and we agree that they can have space on our program, they will have to find their own place.
Yeah, but then, what I'm saying is, it's best to have it somewhere where the other hotels, there are a lot of hotels around it.
Yeah, in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are. They all kind of string
'Cause
out.
I think
along-
200 would be too few, really.
Well, but why do you want to have more than that? It's not as though we want to have the biggest possible meeting that.
Well,
we can
because,
have.
well, that's true, but there, there's a lot of interest, I think, and there are a lot of different groups. If they all organize something, and they're gonna bring in people, then you're gonna have to say, well, no. I mean, do you wanna say no?
Yeah, I do think
I mean, it's not clear that that's necessarily a good idea.
well, I can see having a core meeting, it's like, summits within summits. But a core meeting, if it has a coherence, has got to be centrally, I don't want to plan in the sense of having control over the program in a detailed way, but only to say, we've got a general idea of what we want to see, and we would like to say your group fits, but it's not central. So you would have to kind of be somewhere else on the program. 200 people is a big meeting. It's not a small meeting.
Yeah, but I think Paul's comment, and I tie it up to the CODATA that was mentioned a while ago. I know that CODATA just last week spontaneously, in 48 hours, organized a meeting, brainstorming session for a few French scientists in Paris to talk about WSIS. And it went so well that they're organizing another one in January with the same group of people. Now, if CODATA just pulled that out, and this is just a small community, a few people solicited, but gets that kind of response right away, and they're already announcing their CODATA meeting in 2004 as the next big step towards Tunis. Between now and Tunis, I would say that CODATA, just in itself, will probably have 100 guests invited.
I think that's likely.
No problem. How are you?
I don't think we can.
Okay.
I don't think we can handle it. I
Well-
think if they want to meet.
But would they come on their own and make their own arrangements, and would they necessarily have to be piggybacked on?
Okay, well then, okay, so you have a completely different thing in mind, which is fine.
No, if
But
you.
then there are gonna be other groups that probably need to organize something in parallel,
Well,
elsewhere.
I do think they do need to organize separately if they simply want to do anything they want and come under our aegis. I don't think we can.
Well, I don't think it's anything that, I mean, I think it would be, thematically consistent.
When I talked to the CODATA people yesterday, I met like 3 of them at the reception, and what I've been saying to them, or just like you and I talked, CODATA could be in charge of doing a couple of sessions, an afternoon of the program or something. That'd be perfectly fine. But to say we want 100 separate.
No. Well, I mean, he was pointing out that not 100, but there may be 100 people who are interested, who are data people from developing countries, Europe, US, who are going to want to attend, and many of whom may want to participate in some substantive way.
And all I could say is the hotels there are probably sufficient if people would make an early reservation. But if we have a hotel where we have a 200 room block, we wouldn't want to give CODATA one.
Right.
We've got to have some control
Right.
over it.
Well, and if you have all these other organizations that we've already mentioned, CERN, OECD, certainly TWAS and UNESCO, and et cetera, they're all going to bring in a few dozen, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think 200 is not enough. I simply don't think it's big enough.
200 people.
200
rooms.
200 rooms.
But if you have those 2 hotels next to each other, then maybe you go for.
Well,
But I mean, the people coming from UNESCO and so on, those, I mean, they may have their own arrangements somehow. That's why your earlier point of having hotels nearby, accessible somehow, is a good point. Yeah. But they can make I think the 200 that you're thinking about, 200 are going to be invited by us essentially. And these are people coming from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America, from various places, Europe, but invitees essentially.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the other organizations, if they want to have additional participation, I think.
Well,
Because there will be, I mean, UNESCO will bring in a large number of people, not only for this event, but also for the WSIS, like what they're doing here.
Yeah, what I would say is that if you rent, what we do if we have like tons of hotels around with no constraints, we book an overflow hotel and then say, 6 months before the event, either party can cancel with no penalty. But in this case, you probably won't get that deal from a hotel. A hotel is going to say, we want to make sure, so we're going to book another group.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me about that arrangement. Now, if we just said, UNESCO can bring as many as they want, just make your own arrangements, then it's fine. Because I wouldn't want it to be a restricted meeting and close the doors.
Well, one way to do that, or partly anyway, to solve the problem, is if we were to decide that there were some kind of registration fee, so that to show people's determination and avoid the kind of thing that happened at the banquet the other night.
And we
then
just
of
pay for
course
those
you
we
can say-
invite.
It might be.
Well, yeah, but also you can say, by such and such a date, your fee is of such an amount. After that, the fee goes up by 20 or 30% more. And so at that cutoff date, you can already tell the hotels, well, by this date, I'll give you a commitment for this number of rooms.
Yeah.
And you inform all the others, beyond this date, your fee will go up, and we can't guarantee availability of rooms.
Yeah.
But then you...
Yeah, well, we're very familiar with organizing these kind of meetings, and if we do it that way, and I'll be guided by you on this, then I will just get my meeting planner to do this. See, so far I haven't involved him heavily because he works for us every year. He knows exactly what to do. I just sort of say, here, you know, and this gets you out of a good bit of work.
But I'd like
Yeah,
to work with him
work with
and
him.
learn the process too. I mean, that's like,
But, you know, then he will do the sort of standard, here's a website with the registration, with a fee, it goes up at a certain point, and we can sort of kick in the normal scientific meeting framework. My earlier idea was that this was kind of a smaller meeting where we would just pay for everything, and what I was gonna go with the hotel was to have a master bill for the rooms, and just say, as long as you're renting rooms these 3 nights and you're invited by us, you just come and you don't worry about your lodging, and we'll have some lunches that are paid for by different sponsors, and then we'll give you a check for your flight. You know, so that but I don't think we can do that with more than 100 or 200.
That's right, yes,
Yeah.
but I think you have to do that, otherwise people
Yeah.
won't come. I mean, some of the people, especially those from developing countries, they just won't come if they're not paid for. So I think we have to do this. But in addition, the people who come from other places where people are supported by their own organizations, essentially those in Europe or the US, I'm sure that if they
Make it a registration.
intend to participate, I'm sure they will make sure
Yes.
that they would come, and
Well, at least
if
it
they are
gives us,
interested.
at least it gives us an idea of how big
So-
the meeting is in advance.
Yeah, but if you introduce this registration fee and so on, I'm afraid that you may lose people.
But it wouldn't
may
be,
discourage people to come.
but it wouldn't be applicable to our, you know, NSF, if they do give us about 200, then I would expect that to cover our core group of people from the developing world and some US participants. I'm sure the European Union will pay, you know, for European participants. We probably can't pay for them, but we can pay for developing country people and some US.
The US.
Yeah.
But your idea is to cover the hotel and everything, and
But not if it's a huge meeting with like hundreds of people. My idea was to cover it for the
people that
core
group you identify. Yes. Yeah.
Well, can't both options work collaterally?
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
In other words, we formulate a list with 150 or 250 names,
Yeah.
and we say these ones we're offering to, and we solicit funds for that. By the way, anyone else who is interested in coming to this venue, you are more than welcome, and here's the registration fee, it's schedules and all this kind
With
of
a
thing.
website and the whole thing.
Yeah, the website, and
Yeah.
But
Do
I
you
don't
think-
know. I mean, I don't know whether people, once you start to introduce the registration fees and so on,
Yeah, but it won't be for
be
the,
discouraged somehow.
well, it wouldn't be for the people that you're mentioning.
Yeah, I know,
with
but
the
also for the
development.
others. I mean, I'm not sure.
Well,
WSIS doesn't have any registration fee, no? The major event.
no, the major event does not.
Well, what do you think, Paul?
Why do you want the registration fee anyway?
To-
What is the idea behind
to
it?
make sure if you book a
To control the
hotel,
number of
yeah.
people,
But
to have
also-
some real control over the number of people well enough in advance, so that you can then commit to the
Like, yeah,
locals.
a hotel.
But so long as you give them a deadline that if they don't register in the hotel by such a time, then they will have to find their own way of doing it. I mean, you're trying to help them, but if they don't meet your deadline, then they make their own arrangement. Why do you
Right,
have to worry about that?
right, no,
I mean,
that's.
you say that the hotel has
yeah,
got a deadline, you know, you have to register with the hotel. Register with the hotel, not with us.
Not with
With
us.
the hotel. But make sure that you do that before such and such a date. If your plans are not complete by that date, then you have to make your own arrangement.
Yes,
And
but
give them
then,
options of hotels where they can contact you.
but for the hotel, that's one thing, but for all sorts of other events, for instance, if you're
Yeah.
to put together a banquet
Mhm.
or something, or if one local sponsor, just like, I don't know,
I-
who
I-
MCI here found to subsidize at the last minute half of the
But you want
dinner.
to charge them for the banquet?
No, I'm saying if people have a registration fee that they pay in advance, some commitment, it doesn't have to be a fee, but some way of really committing to their coming, then you don't risk having the problem that CERN just had with the dinner, which is, I'm sure, costing them and certainly costing their sponsor an arm and a leg.
But a lot of people paid for that dinner. I mean, I paid
Half.
for
I
mine.
paid.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
reduced it by half.
Yeah, they reduced it by half, and so
So,
the
I mean-
sponsor.
So I mean, if you pay a little bit of money for the dinner then, or the banquet.
Yeah, no. Well,
But
I'm not worried
even
about the
reserving
market.
space for
I'm not
plenary,
really worried
reserving
about
any kind of space, if you know ahead of time how many people you're expecting, and you know you have people that are committed because they registered, these people we wouldn't be covering. The people that the NSF funding would not cover, people from Europe or people from the US that wanted to come on their own. That would be the website for it, so that they would have a commitment, we'd know what was, what to plan for. I mean, it's like on my bag, I gotta go like this. And I think that's
The only thing that I'm trying to address is Paul's concern, which I share very much. How do we know whether we're gonna have 200 people or 1,000
Yeah.
people?
Well, yeah.
And if we're involving 10 different organizations, I think the likelihood of having 1,000 people is probably realistic.
And the restraint we have is that hotels will simply not do what they normally do because of the summit, and so they need that kind of commitment up front.
Well,
Any
is
kind of
that
time.
what you want? Do you want a meeting of 1,000 people? If we could do it, would you want it?
Yeah, but how are you going to secure 1,000 people?
That's what we're.
I don't think.
I think it should be left open. I think the more participation, the better. No doubt about that. But I don't expect that number, that high number. I think if we get something like 300,
Maybe half.
400 people, I think we'll be lucky.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do too.
Yeah.
But I guess I want to ensure that the people, what I'm calling the core participants, do come to sessions, participate, interact with each other, form new collaborations and
Yes,
new partnerships.
This is the most
And the
critical
bigger that
part.
you have, the less likely then it
yeah.
becomes all diluted.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
These 200 people that we are going to take care of, we're going to pay for them and so on. We have to make sure that we select the right people. The selection is going to be very critical. We really have to select people who are committed, who can participate and interact and bring life to the whole event.
Yeah.
That's critical, yes. But the others, I think we should leave it open.
Well, if you
Yeah.
leave it open, what I'm saying is you may have, double the amount, let's say.
I don't expect more than 300, 400, maximum 400. I don't think there'll be more than that. Yeah. There will be a number of people who are going to come, not only for us, but for the main event. But the fact that there is something of interest to them that's taking place.
Yeah, they
just
may
a
just
couple of
come
days
for one
before.
session
They
or
say, okay, well, we'll come for that, and then continue.
half a day.
And if we want to know that they will be there, then I think we do have to have a registration, even if it's something.
Well, they have to register.
Yeah.
And that,
But not necessarily with a fee,
Not necessarily with a fee,
except maybe
yeah.
for a banquet or something, just like the cert.
Register for a banquet, register for the event itself.
But then do we go about reserving a hotel space for these
No.
people, or do we just let them get their own space, and so we just worry about our hotel?
Only for our core group.
I think you
Yeah.
just worry about their
Well,
own.
we're all-
We could get, we might be able to get at the outside 300 rooms, but judging from the hotels I saw, and they looked like the biggest to me. I didn't see every hotel, but they were really not going to give that many. Maybe 250. And then I think, you could go for an overflow hotel, but I don't know who's going to agree to that.
Well, just so that it's in an area where that's possible. I think that's all. You shouldn't have to
Yeah.
worry about other people making their arrangements. You need to just worry about your core group.
Mhm.
I agree with that. But all I'm saying is, it has to be possible,
Yeah,
for
and
people
it's-
to be,
yeah. And these hotels are all
somewhere
kind of
reasonably
scattered
close
around.
by.
Yeah, even within walking distance.
I mean, if you have to take taxis, that's fine, but.
And because it's like a beach road, it's like any bus you get on just goes in one place. It
It's
can
one
only
of
go
those
back and
scripts.
forth.
How far
It's a
away is
strip.
the area where they're having the World Summit, the city they're having it, from this?
60.
Well, yeah, it's a good drive.
Yeah, so that would be,
But it's also maybe a positive if we do it in the Tunis Beach area.
That's right, there will be
Is
less
that-
people maybe.
Yeah, it won't be the first to be booked.
Right. That's more along the line.
Yeah, we have something that we've done some years with the 4S, where the registration fee may be $100, maybe maximum was been $125, and we require a $25 pre-registration fee. And then, you know, you get that back if you cancel a lot in advance. But what we really found is like a small fee of $25. It just doesn't have to be a lot. It can be a very small amount. Anyone can afford $25. Maybe not from developing countries, but
then they
anyone.
wouldn't either. If they came, we'd be.
We just say, look,
We waive it.
$25 registration fee. You know, it's not a lot. It's just, are you really serious you're going to come? And that $25 tells us that you will. What about that?
You could do that, and as Rick just mentioned, you could say, when you show up and register, you get that refunded, or you get it as a credit towards breakfast, or some excursion, or who knows what else.
Yeah.
That-
That may not be a bad idea.
Yeah, but people from the US and Europe usually don't even care about
Yeah,
that.
That is interesting, because you can always say that this is going to cover the participation in the banquet
Yeah.
and various other logistical arrangements that are going to be,
Mhm.
coffee breaks, things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So we
interesting.
could do it that way.
Yeah, but make it small, so not
Yes,
discourage,
yeah.
not discourage people. Yeah.
And then
It's,
there's no.
it's a
fee.
sign of a commitment, as you said, yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to talk a little about the theme, or the substantive aspect of the meeting.
Yeah.
Could you mind if we wait and put a new tape in?
Okay.
I
Maybe some coffee
went to the
break.
well, coffee I don't have here.
But
But I went to the local market and bought some local little cheese
That's
and
great.
a bit of bread. If
A
you guys
Frenchman,
want to try it.
we are in France. We are in France.
Yeah, we're on this side of the border.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
just
great.
Water.
it's disconcerting with that accent that I.
Oh, he can turn it on. He has the French accent. He actually does an American version of the French accent.
I'm thinking, in terms of the theme, first of all, there's one thing that